I tell you all fairly regularly that I do not believe in God in any of the popular ways of describing the word. Father of Jesus, Supreme Being, Allah, higher power, Yahweh, love, multiple beings, or one. For me, this is all a disconnect. A possible connection to that which is more than all of us combined, but still the descriptions that have always been used to describe God, for me, just don't really work. So I've created my own. God as relationship, God as connection with other people, with the natural world, with oneself or your inner being, connection with life. When I use God language, I mean relationship or connection. And it tends to confuse people. It doesn't always make sense to those around me when I say that I am an atheist and yet I am willing to find connection to spiritual texts or hymns or poetry that explicitly speak about God. And yet, when I rephrase the sentences in my head, or when I restructure the music to focus on relationship instead of capital G-O-D, then I begin to see a synchronicity. Definitions of God that I have replaced relationship or connection with include the object of faith, my relationships, the greatest conceivable existence, the many connections that are between us all, my moral obligation, the relationships that I hold dear, omnipotent and omnipresent connections to everyone. Or, like our centering words spoke, beautifully moving, ceaselessly forming, growing, emerging with delight, spinner of chaos, pulling and twisting, freeing the fibers of pattern and form, nudging discomfort, prodding and shaking, waking our lives to creatures, to creative unease. Straight-talking lover, checking and humbling, jargon and grumbling, speaking the truth that refreshes and frees. Midwife of changes, skillfully guiding, drawing us out through the shock of the new. Life-giving loser, weeping and wounded, dancing and leaping, sharing the caring that heals and redeems. Or how about the relationship between the atoms that created both me and the stars? The undeniable connection between me and the universe. The sameness between all of us and the universe. The incredibly awesome relationship between the death of a star and the birth of a human child. It isn't interesting because so often witnessing or experiencing awe has been directly connected to religious moments or a connection to or observation of God, a witnessing of that which transcends us, a fragment of feeling, an inkling of a sensation that connects us to something that is more powerful than we are. An overwhelming feeling of reverence, admiration, or fear produced by that which is grand, sublime, extremely powerful, or the like. And there have even been many arguments about whether or not atheists are capable of experiencing awe. Oprah got into a debate with a few different people on one of her Super Soul Sundays. And yet, in this same vein, even Albert Einstein proclaims the connection between awe and the religious. He wrote the following for a collection called Living Philosophies. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. He to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. His eyes are closed. This insight into the mystery of life, coupled though it be with fear, has also given rise to religion. To know what is impenetrable to us really exists, manifesting itself as the highest wisdom and the most radiant beauty which our dull faculties can comprehend only in the most primitive forms. This knowledge, this feeling is at the center of true religiousness. In this sense, and in only this sense, I belong in the rank of devoutly religious humans. It is enough for me to contemplate the mystery of conscious life perpetuating itself through all eternity, to reflect upon the marvelous structure of the universe, which we can dimly perceive, and to try humbly to comprehend even an infinitesimal part of the intelligent, magnificent, manifested in nature. So even though he was not an overtly religious man, he makes the connection between awe and religion. The mystery of life, the source of true art and science. Einstein indeed was an awe-filled man. His studies and discoveries of the universe suggest this search. One definition that I really love is from the neuropsychologist Paul Paracel. He defines awe as an overwhelming and bewildering sense of connection with a startling universe that is usually far beyond the narrow band of our consciousness. A sense of connection with the universe that is usually far beyond the narrow band of our consciousness. And while it is most often a connection with the positive aspects of the universe, awe can be a connection to the fearful, dreadful, and negative side as well. This kind of reminds me of that scene from The Phantom of the Opera, where Christine is first meeting the Phantom in this simultaneous moment of rapture and horrifying feel. A sense of awe-filled dread. Or those moments when watching scary movies, we peep between our fingers to see what's going on. There is something about the mystery that can be so overwhelming that we want to hide, but yet we can't peel our eyes away. There is this same sense of fear when witnessing the extreme power of our own mental health. I feel a strange sense of awe by the mysterious power with which my depression or my anxiety can root me to the spot. And perhaps I only call it a strange sense of awe because so often I associate awe with joy. But when I struggle with anxiety or my bipolar, I am experiencing an overwhelming and bewildering sense of connection to a startling universe. A universe that I so often only witness through one tiny, narrow band of consciousness. that overwhelming realization that my consciousness has gained more understanding of a situation that is healthy for me to hold on to in one single moment, oscillating back and forth along the pendulum of awe through the best of times and the worst of times, being witness to all that is around us and within us and connected to us, that we are in relationship with, might actually be the object of faith. Perhaps it's our raison d'etre. Unitarian Universalist minister and theologian Reverend Forrest Church has written about this very concept, moving back and forth through the pendulum of awe. He titled his book, The Cathedral of the World, where he describes universalism, the theology of God being one and all, and that we will all return to that one being. Here's an excerpt from his text. Imagine awakening one morning from a deep and dreamless sleep to find yourself in the nave of a vast cathedral, like a child newborn, untutored save to moisture, nature, nurture, rhythm, and the profound comforts at the heart of darkness. You open your eyes upon a world unseen, indeed unimaginable before. It is a world of light and dancing shadow, stone and glass, life and death. This second birth, at once miraculous and natural, is in some ways not unlike the first. A new awakening, it consecrates your life with sacraments of pain. You do not understand and promised joy you will never fully call your own. Such awakenings may happen only once in a lifetime, or many times. But when they do, what you took for granted before is presented as a gift, difficult yet precious and good. Look about you, contemplate the mystery, and contemplate with awe. The cathedral is as ancient as humankind. Its cornerstone, the first altar, marked with the tincture of blood and stained with tears. Search for a lifetime, which is all you are surely ever given, and you shall know its limits. Visit all its transepts, worship at its myriad shrines, nor span its celestial ceilings with your gaze. The builders have worked from time immemorial, destroying and creating, confounding and perfecting, tearing down and raising up arches in this cathedral, buttresses and chapels, organs and theaters, chancels and transepts, gargoyles, idols, and icons. Welcome to the cathedral of the world. Above all else, contemplate the windows. In the cathedral of the world, there are windows without number, some long forgotten, covered with many veneers of grime, others revered by millions, the most sacred of shrines. Each in its own way is beautiful. Some are abstract, others representational, some dark and meditative, others bright and dazzling. Each window tells a story about the creation of the world, the meaning of history, the purpose of life, the nature of humankind, the mystery of death. The windows of the cathedral are where the light shines through. Because the cathedral is so vast and our time so short and our vision so dim, over the course of our pilgrimage, we are unable to contemplate only a tiny part of the cathedral. Yet, by pondering and acting on our ruminations, we discover insights that will invest our days with meaning. We shall never see the light directly, only as fragmented through the windows of the cathedral, prompting humility. Life's mysteries lie hidden. The light is veiled, yet being halfway in size between the creation itself and our body's smallest constituent part, that we can encompass with our minds the universe that encompasses us, is a cause for great wonder. Awakened by the light, we stand in the cathedral, trembling with awe. Trembling with awe, a weird, profound, awkward, and overwhelming emotion that can rear its head in so many different scenarios. Listening to the communication of killer whales in the Pacific Ocean. Witnessing the receding distances of mountain glaciers. Sitting in the middle of a field in the dead of night, staring up at the Milky Way. Imagining the catastrophe of an active volcano. Waiting in silence, listening to the wonderings of your own mind. Beholding the intricacies of newborn's toes. Experiencing the jolting shock of an earthquake. Although so much of our lives are held within the smallest of arches of that pendulum, within the small vacillations from our center point, short wavers from our pathway at the edges of our being, there is awe. As we weave our way down the path of our lives and move through the moments of awe, both the struggle and the power, both the awe-inspiring and the awful, let us remember that connection and relationships are at the heart of all of these experiences. Let us remember that these moments are made possible by the connections that we sustain or the relationships that we let fray, as we continue to move into a world where we are going to be pushed further and further from our center. A world where leaders are disingenuous or hypocritical, where people are shut out, moved along, or torn apart from those they love. A world where environmental collapse is being met with meager responses, where houses are seen as commodities and not as necessities. Let us remember that awe will speak to our connections and allow us to strengthen our relationships. Let us make it so.